Welcome to DIY Yourself. I am Christopher Chabot Carminati, a comedian out of the Philadelphia area. And I use a stage name. Why? Because on stage, if you care enough, you will find out who I am. And I am with Michael the Ghost Giordano. And tonight's episode is going to be about death. And we were going to, introduce the mental health militia and ourselves, but because of recent events and, the passing of, the Marvel character and actor of the Black Panther, friends of ours, and COVID-19. But I also must state a disclaimer that we are not doctors, not really professionals of any kind of sort in that field. I'm not a doctor. I play one right now, right here in my mind, and at home when my child gets a boo-boo. And, Michael has boo-boo. I'll check that boo-boo right there. You want to check a boo-boo?
Don't touch me, bull.
And please, and here goes the ghost.
All right, so just to extend on that disclaimer real quick, just to make it very clear, neither one of us are doctors, and what we are going to be speaking on from now on as the mental health militia, it is just from experiences, observations, okay? Today we are going to be talking about death. It is it's been the trend this year in 2020. Not a good trend, but it has also been something that we have experienced tremendous amounts of loss. Tremendous. And we're going to dedicate this episode to a lot of our fallen soldiers.
Yes.
Most recently, rest in peace, Fred Seefeld. That was a tremendous loss, and he was a good one. That one hurt.
Yes.
But just to get into it a little bit, so I wanted to start this off very personal to me, okay? This is going to be a personal podcast. We got this guy. He's a bit of a clown. He's a comedian, Chabot. He's going to be providing a lot of entertainment, but his story is incredible. I think I have a pretty deep story as well, as does our producer Knowledge here. So we are going to be talking about a lot of deep stuff, but we're not going to bore you either. However, I want to start this off with something very personal to me. So I'm actually going to go by Guido Giordano. Chabot likes to call me Houdini's ghost because he likes to say I disappear a lot. I live my life. But I choose not to put my real name out there, even though most of you probably know it. This is kind of my way of putting on a mask. That's mandated today, isn't it? We all got to wear masks.
Right.
But I have a lot of issues. Not issues, I don't want to say issues, but I have a lot of circumstances in my life, and I just choose not to put my name out there, okay? I know a lot of you know me, but it is what it is. With that being said, I do want to say that this is going to be a podcast where me, Chabot, and Mr. Brian, he's okay with his name, Mr. Brian Knowledge. I love the name Knowledge. Brian Knowledge Cutler, our producer, and we are the Mental Health Militia.
We are.
I just want to throw this out there real quick because I love this, but Knowledge is Knowledge. There's no D, no homo. But it stands for knowing no obstacles will leave eternal greatness everlasting. And that's beautiful. And I think it represents a lot of what we represent too. I love it, my man. I salute that. I'm going to go a little bit further. So we're going to be touching on a lot of deep shit. We are two of the many men that we intend on representing the mental health militia. We are more than inviting to women as well, but this is going to be focusing on men's mental health. Okay. Unfortunately, there's always a negative connotation that's kind of associated with men's mental health. There's a lot of common ground that men don't talk about mental health illness, that this represents some sort of weakness for a man to suffer from mental health issues. Addiction as well, by the way, which is another half of what this is. And it's been recently represented to me that some may even view this as a weakness because they believe that that's actually behind the definition of mental illness. So I did some research, and mental health illnesses are health conditions involving changes in emotion, thinking, or behavior, or a combination of these. Mental illnesses are associated with distress and or problems functioning in social, work, or family activities. So we are going to be talking about the most extreme negative tonight, which is death.
Yes.
The ultimate, the absolute ending. For the first episode of the Mental Health Militia, this is what we're going to be focusing on. Unfortunately, as I stated earlier, we are all suffering from the loss of many of our friends and family. Our generation, unfortunately, has been plagued with opiates, overdoses, prescription abuse, and misdiagnoses, and an overall lack of understanding behind mental illness and addiction, which all have an intense relationship, obviously, with death. So, the first thing that I want to say, and this is what's really personal to me, I want to say that I am so very grateful for where I am sitting right now. I love my family. I love us. I'm very proud of each one of you guys because we've come a long way. I love you. Give me some right here. Boom. I also have a 12-year-old son who is the world to me. I'm blessed to be his father. I have done my best for my son. Obviously, as a parent, we're all going to say that we've made many mistakes, some worse than others. I was a kid when I had him, but I think I raised a wonderful young man. I'm lucky that he has a good mother. Even though we don't always see eye to eye, I will always be grateful for her role in my son's life. I have a wonderful girlfriend who I do love with all my heart. She has stepped in and has... I don't even know what this guy's doing over here. But she stepped into my son's life, and she's been the perfect role for my son, and I absolutely love their relationship. And I also have been blessed with a 4-month-old daughter, and I love her more than I ever could have imagined. So, getting a little choked up here. I'm just being real. It is what it is. But my little girl is the light of my life, and I want to give her the best life that I can. My son's a great big brother. I love my family so much. And now it goes into the death aspect because I just lost my father. He taught me what it's like, how to be a man, how to take care of my family. And since he passed, I've had the pleasure of... I got a little script here. Excuse me. I appreciate the comfort. I'm okay. But I feel like I've been able to kind of take my mom under my wing, and I've allowed her to assume a new role in what has now become my family. I have so much to lose now, and I just want to make sure that I don't lose that, you know. We've been in situations where we could have lost everything, you know, many times.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, no.
Many times.
Still can.
Still can.
Don't forget about that.
Absolutely.
Still can.
But look,
Still
you
can.
guys are my brothers for real. I love you guys. We're going to change the world.
We're going to at least attempt it.
And last but not least, I want to thank my Uncle Carl because he would kick my ass and probably all of our asses if we didn't mention him.
I'm actually alive sitting here because of him.
Yeah. He is alive still, yes.
Yes, correct.
But with that being said, I am very glad for our relationship, and we were able to come together as men and establish a relationship. That's a huge part of my life now. No bullshit. But I also want to shout out your mom and dad. Rest in peace.
Oh, yay.
Mo, my wonderful Aunt Lori, who etched a permanent spot in my heart and my mind. And Brian, your mother, who also just a permanent spot. Rest in peace to Aunt Eileen.
And big up for E-Bomb.
E-Bomb.
Don't forget to be E-Bomb.
E-Bomb.
Yeah, Grandma Ethel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called my grandma E-Bomb because she was a delight. She really was. And she gave me everything I ever wanted, and she had schizophrenia. Yep. She taught me everything it is to know about almost about survival, and it really a lot of it doesn't matter on how you perceive from the outside. It's what makes you complete on the inside. And no, absolutely, she was a hobo, and If you don't know what a hobo is a person that would ride rail cars or freight cars illegally, and you would get your ass whooped by by freight security or yard security, and it was a lifestyle but yet a life choice, and she was one of the few that actually endured electrotherapy, electroshock therapy, and that's amazing. That's one of my reasons for starting, wanting to start, exploring mental health, because my grandma seemed completely fine. It was just her views were just a little bit extraordinary, and also what got me into this also was death.
Yep.
Death actually brought Chaboy at the time out to evolve into Chabul, and it was I had a roommate in a halfway house or recovery house, and I don't ever like to share dreams or wishes or could have been or would have been. My mind doesn't want to go there, because I don't want to rehash PTSD, which is a mental health disorder, and death does lead to mental health because it leads to grief, and we're going to get into that. So we're going to get back to Matt, and me and Matthew, we would sit there.
Matt was your roommate. You weren't clear on that.
Correct. Yes, Matt was my roommate.
And rest in peace. Correct?
Yes, rest in peace.
Another one
lost his life to addiction. And I, came up front and I was, hey, I always wanted to be a comedian or be on TV. And he was like, do it. I was like, nah, dude, like, that's stupid. Like, I'd have to get on stage and practice. And he let me know that he was, a musician, and he used to sing for me and play guitar. And I hated it. I hated it. But you know what? I sat there and I listened to it for hours because I saw his face, and he loved it, and he got me into acoustic music and soloing, and not really, but he got me to enjoy what he had, and but it's okay. So then into his passing. I never thought about ever really getting on stage after that, and I wanted to make it clear to everybody in the audience during his eulogies that nobody was saying on really like how great he was before he died. It was, before the problem or how he used to be. But no, he was he used to check on me. He came to, wanted to come to my father's funeral. And he always used to check on me. And when he died, I kind of wanted to, and plus I got on stage in front of like 100-something people and made them laugh at a funeral. And then some guy pulled me aside. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, dude. I didn't mean all that, bro.
Steve, you never told me that.
Yeah. He pulled me aside and he was like, I'm Matt's brother-in-law, and you should really think about becoming a comedian.
Wow, that's crazy.
Had no idea about this dream.
That's crazy.
And pulled me aside and said,
"Damn, dog."
And so then the passing of my uncle Mark, who
father.
Yes, correct. Peace. Who I internally and mentally have regret because I never got to share the things, I always wanted to share, mostly because I was terrified of any response that I would get about truly opening up to the individual. But as I'm starting to learn now, as he started to deteriorate in age, he was more open-minded of an individual.
Yeah.
And for me, that's going to be one of the most horrible regrets I ever have. Because I was expecting somebody to never change.
Yeah, that's
to
crazy.
Always stay the brute, deliberate ass that person was. I'm sorry to call your dad that.
No, it's all right, man.
And but people do change, and when I found that out, it cracked my soul a little bit.
Well, I'm gonna stop you for a second because this is deep. My dad did change. He changed drastically, man.
It hurts. It hurts.
And I understand why it was like somebody like yourself, and honestly, even somebody like you, Knowledge, and our other cousin. My dad was more open-minded. He became more allowing of like weakness in a sense. I mean, I use that word weakness, but I mean that was his view on it before. And after seeing what all of us went through, and guess what? He did too, He had his own addiction issues, So he became more open, and I got to see the my dad had a lot of good before, and he also had a lot of bad. And guess what? It changed, but he died with a lot of good and a lot of bad. The one thing I'll say a lot more than one thing, but my father cared about his family more than anything else.
Yes.
And he always wanted more from all of us when it came to life, yes, but also when it came to our relationships. And he rest in peace to my father, man. I have so much respect for him as a man, and seeing the changes and cancer destroyed him. But the truth is that physically it destroyed him, and maybe even mentally, but emotionally. Now that we're discussing this, a lot changed in him, and he became more open. That's a beautiful thing, man, and I really appreciate that story. I love you. I'm going to say that a lot. But I want to bring something up, right? This is something I caught that you said. You mentioned a choice, okay? And I think that's going to be a common theme around a lot of what we discuss. So I want to put it right here out in the open, because here's the thing with your thoughts about a choice, and you can talk about it with mental illness. You can also talk about it with addiction. How much of it is a choice, right? The origination of it maybe is different. Maybe you don't necessarily have a choice when it comes to mental illness, but a lot of people feel like you have choices in the decisions you make and the actions you take. And somebody with mental illness may say that's not necessarily true. Sometimes you're not acting in your right mind.
Correct.
And that's the same thing with addiction.
Yes.
And again, the origination of it, you're a little bit curious to do something as a kid or something. A lot of addiction started that way, and we knew people were going to die. We obviously didn't see it becoming this many. Correct. Drastically.
Yes.
But we knew drugs ultimately, the most extreme part of it is death, and it happens too much.
Yes.
But it didn't change our choices, and I say that with air quotes because how much of it is a choice? What's your thoughts on that?
What, drug addiction?
And mental illness, and the decisions you make with mental illness.
So drug addiction, sometimes can be a choice, but we have a tendency to get stuck in a psychosis and looping thoughts. And some people don't know coping mechanisms to get out of them looping thoughts. Mental illness, we don't really have a choice on mental illness. The ones that were gifted it.
Gifted. I love that you say gifted.
And really, what we have to do in life is we have to develop coping mechanisms, and this is what this show is about: is our coping mechanisms and other coping mechanisms that people use, and you learning in the field of mental health, just as we are going to learn ourselves, and then we become experts. 10,000 hours. You got it in you?
10,000 hours?
Yeah.
Is that our goal?
Listen, I
love it.
I got it on my knees in prison. You get it on this podcast.
You ain't lying. No, but so let me ask you about this though, because it brings up an interesting, what I think might be an interesting perspective for you, because we know that mental illness and also addiction, bringing it back to death, right? We know, even as somebody that suffers from, I'm going to put it out there, I'm bipolar. I was diagnosed with being manic depressed as a like 12 or 13-year-old boy, which I think is crazy in of itself. Go ahead.
Which he's trying to refer to is he rides off his feelings. He has very rapid emotional feelings. They fluctuate with his thoughts. And if he can't keep his thoughts balanced and focused, he's not going to be able to keep his emotions focused. And that's also something we would have to learn with is cognitive behavioral developmental thinking. That's where when you know you're catching yourself off guard, you're like, oh, snap, stop, where are we going? And you bring yourself back. But what happens is some of us don't know where to bring ourselves to, and then we have our jotted notes, our written lines, and what is going to be our next plan or goal from there. Every goal needs a plan. You just don't wake up and you're like, hey, I'm going to be president of the United States. You know what I mean? Yes, that whoever is in there now, whatever year we're in now, is in there, but they had to start with thoughts and plans and work their way up to it.
That's very interesting, and I must put this out there because you do have experience not only in dealing with addiction and mental health within yourself, but you also work in the field. And I appreciate the perspective that you're bringing to me because it's almost a thing that I never even discussed with you before, and it's also it's something that you never brought to my attention, like that whole, I don't want to call it a theory, but the idea that you just put behind that makes a lot of sense for somebody like myself. What I was getting at, and I want to see what your take is on this, because you talk a lot about a plan and you talk a lot about the actions, but the decisions, the choices, I put in air quotes again, but the decisions and the choices that we make, we don't always have the ability to, sometimes I think that I always know what the right decision to make is, but I'm not always able to act that out. And it's because of my emotions, like you just said, which was beautiful because it was so very true. But my emotions kind of influence my decisions a lot. And I think, again, I'm going to keep on going back to death, but it's crazy because it's crazy because, though, the decisions that we make when they're more emotional and we know that it's not necessarily the right direction to go is how I can see somebody falling into making a decision that they're emotionally wrecked right now and they need to get high, right? And that simple choice is what ultimately can lead to death. And so now I look at it from a mental illness perspective, and I think, okay, well, even though I may know what is the right direction to go, when I act emotionally because of this emotional imbalance that I have, I can ultimately get to a point where, I mean, I can put myself in a place where I could die, right?
Correct. No, absolutely. And we're doing that to ourselves constantly, where we're putting ourselves in horrible predicaments. And that's another stand where the mental health militia wants to take on, is that we want to build some kind of like housing structures, centers, bring back state hospitals. All right. Not per se 302 state hospitals, but bring back, somewhere where people can go off and get living structure. Okay, whether you have to go off and you live in a shooting gallery for a little bit, and on supervised grounds, because
explain what a shooting gallery.
A shooting gallery would be somewhere where people go to ingest drugs, but in this case, it is now medication, because we all know somebody that we pretty much know, wow, they pretty much function pretty well on drugs, but drugs are bad. Yes, drugs are bad when they're abused and you are stealing from your mother. But if you are getting in my belief and suggestion, if people are getting small doses of the narcotic they desire, behind closed doors, who's going to ever notice? Because you don't know that methadone person that is sitting down your street until their teeth start rotting.
And guess what? how many lives would that save? And I don't know if I even necessarily agree with this yet. I love what you're diving into. The biggest thing, though,
Yes,
is that would
lives.
save so many lives.
Correct,
So
correct.
many.
So many lives. And I was down in Center City during the protest on the safe injection site.
Yeah.
But in a way, I did not agree on the placement of it.
You
but,
were representing the mental health militia out there
correct.
with a
Yes,
sign,
I was.
too.
I was
That's
there
right.
with the mental health militia representing a sign. If
love
we were
it.
slick and knew what we were doing, we'd have it, shoot up right behind us. But we're not slick,
We're
and
getting
we
there.
don't.
DIY yourself,
Yes,
baby.
DIY yourself, and we're all going to learn together. But no, I was there, and I do believe in it. I do believe that it shouldn't really be these people bringing drugs we don't know how they got or how they got the money for. I don't want to know. I know I used to do it. But give them the drugs, take them off the street, teach them something, give them a job.
Something. Give them a job.
Do you want fries with that? Come back here. We don't even want your check. Well, it doesn't exist yet, but we don't want your check. Keep your check. Live on our grounds. And but that's the ultimate goal, so you don't die. So we don't have to have an introduction to you about death, about how hard it is, but it is a reality, and you refuse to talk about it.
Yep. And we, all of us, and I look directly in the camera when I say that, we dealt with too many people gone. Too many people.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts.
Our
physically.
generation has been plagued, and it's the opiates. I mean, I think at least,
Plague
but it's
too-
also
Go ahead.
I think it's it's not even I think, it's the abuse of the prescribing the medication.
No.
And then it being unchecked, because I like your idea and everything, but if you think about what happened from the early 2000s until now, it started with unchecked prescriptions that were illegitimate, and it flooded the streets. And that grew the opiates, which pushed in the heroin, which ultimately people are always looking for the next strongest thing, which is now fentanyl.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay, all right, okay. So people got led to death because of fentanyl, which was believed, to be flooded by the CCP market or the Communist Party of China.
Really?
And yes,
Okay.
correct. Y'all can fact check that. I don't mind. But yes, it was also unchecked prescriptions. But you have to understand what an opiate is. An opiate is what you would call a Superman drug. It is everything you wanted in life. And I'm not a salesman. I don't want you to use it. But an opiate is that thing that's going to take the emotional pain of evolving life and not being able to pay your bills. It's going to take that away. You're not going to feel it. Your bill's 2 months late. Oh snaps! I need another perk. Why? Because that becomes our new coping mechanism
For everything.
For everything, with dealing with life. And as the problems start to get harder, so do the milligrams or the usage, or the baggage, the needleage, the dollar billage, up the nosage.
That's really the evolution of how you go from a perk to a friggin' bag of dope.
Yeah, no,
you know?
absolutely. But what we forgot in a modern society with people is to kind of teach people coping mechanisms on how to deal with yourself when that kid, or not all kids, every kid is dealing with life on life's terms and turns to somebody and doesn't know how to ask for an answer.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's true.
I have a masturbation problem. Do you have an answer? I
don't have answers,
I came
bro.
up with my own answer. It was to stop looking at porn and stop masturbating.
Yo, God bless him, man. I can tell the difference.
And if I didn't stop, it was going to lead to death.
Yes, that's beautiful.
But we're really going to work through this, and death is a horrible thing, and it leads to grief. And without death, I would have stayed at I would have stayed agnostic theist, which I believed in a God, but I wasn't willing to claim in a God. Okay, and I wanted to, in my deepest heart, I first didn't believe in a God. I was like, nah, that shit doesn't exist. Oh, free meal at my family's house for a God meeting? Oh, hell yeah, we're gonna get a free meal. But as my mother passed and I had things I didn't have to say, I was hoping there was another side. Did I want to claim another side? No, because my father was Catholic, my mother was Jewish. Yeah. And I was raised, at both God meeting dinners. Oh my gosh. And
we used to have Passover dinner.
Yeah, Passover. I it took me years to really figure out what Passover was, and Passover is about death.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so back to that. Yeah, no, I really a lot of what we learned is from death. I had no idea where I was, but now we're back to grief.
Well, I know where you were. And we can get to grief because that is very important. But I do find it interesting because what I believe you were getting into, and I will vouch for him on this, you've opened up to the idea of bringing God into your life.
Yes,
and that was something that you didn't have anything
Oh, I
with,
remember where we were. Yeah,
I myself have an interesting relationship with God. We can get into that, but I am curious about your evolution right now because you really have made it a goal for yourself.
No,
I love that.
Yeah, correct. I really have, and just to let you know, an agnostic atheist is somebody who doesn't believe in a God, or agnostic atheist is somebody, and they claim no God that doesn't exist, and I became an agnostic theist.
Okay.
And they believe and claim in God. Why? Because we're gonna bring you there. But I have reasons now to believe and claim in a God. Whether I chose the right preachings, I still show up to a service to be like, hey, I'll give you my hour on a Sunday.
I'm cool. I like that idea. And I said something to Lauren, and she was like, "You're not going to church."
Yeah, I got combative in my home about going to church too, and verbally, not physically. She knows better. No, I know better.
Yeah.
But really, what got? Go ahead.
Okay, so let's get back. I want to talk about grief real quick.
Okay.
And then I do want to tell you my story with God, because I think you're gonna have I think you might have an interesting perspective on it. I think you have an interesting perspective on a lot of shit. God bless you.
Thank you.
But so grief. I want to talk about grief because that is something is so closely related with death, right? And I think that we talk about God. That's a beautiful, because that's on the other side, and who knows what's happening right now when it comes to a lot of the people that we lost.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we're grieving, right? I'm grieving.
Yes. No. I can't sleep at night sometimes because my mind wants to go to grief.
There's so much. We've lost so many people, and I don't think I've grieved your mother properly yet, let alone your mother, let alone my father. And then you throw in all of my homies that died. I mean, it's crazy. And so I'm curious, as somebody that has dealt with a lot of death, you got the mental illness thing, both in the field and in your own experience. You got the addiction thing. You got a lot. Your story is incredible, and I can't wait to expand on it. But I'm curious what kind of advice you would give to the masses about how to grieve properly. I mean, is there a way to grieve properly? Do we know? There's stages of grief. I don't know, though. I didn't do any research. I haven't read many books on grief. But what do you know?
Okay, so in my field, and out of my field, grief is something very hard for me. I believe there's 8 stages of grief, or 7 stages.
I think it's 7.
7. I guess it all depends on who is writing the book that day.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
And
yeah.
But
you said something to me before. The books ain't always working for us, right?
Yeah, correct. The books
don't
always work for us. And I'm sure there are there are different stages of grief, and we all deal with grief differently. I am somebody who I keep myself distracted, and I've done that too long in my life, and it's really hard to teach somebody to be distracted when they're stuck in a psychosis. And that's where goal building and planning comes in, and physically writing something down, and learning to tell yourself this sucks. I tell myself all the time, everything I do. No, it's not a lie. I'm very lethargic with myself, and I'm just like, this sucks. And then I get on with what I have to do, because I know the goal I want to reach, because I wrote it down, and then I have to take each step to that goal.
Very interesting.
And grief is something I still haven't dealt with, and grief actually affects your brain very, very harshly. It affects your nervous system. With the eating, you know,
I guess eating, that makes sense.
You can overeat, you know,
or undereat,
or undereat, and from just having no feeling to eat at all, or feeling to fill a void, and a lot of us eat to release serotonin, you know, to feel happy, to get that full feeling, because it makes us feel warm and comfortable at night. And then there's also, you know, it affects the frontal lobe, and the frontal lobe is who we are as people. And how we want to be perceived out in the world, and how we're used to being looked at. We might not want to be looked at the same way anymore. We might not even be looked at. Period. And grief also affects the I hope I'm saying this right, the limbic system, you know, and which controls our thoughts, and that's where we can get stuck in a psychosis, or a temporary psychosis of some sort, where we just can't break out of that loop. We can't figure out, and I call it the loop, because my loop is rotating thoughts. Not being able to break myself into a new thought is why I have so many DIY physical projects at my house.
That's beautiful. I love, this is such your style, and such our style, DIY yourself.
Yes.
But you know what you're talking about. You just don't know always how to pronounce the words properly.
Oh, yeah.
The limbic system, it sounds right. It works for me. You know what I'm saying? Go look it up.
What is it?
I don't know.
But
either. You got it. I know you did your research, and I know you know what you're talking about.
I should have.
Go look it up.
Yeah, I should have.
You'll figure it out, too.
Correct. I should have did
DIY yourself.
Yeah, I should have did the pronunciation properly.
It's all good, man. That adds to our style.
I was like, yo, we have to throw this into whatever podcast we're going to make, and make it look as authentic as possible, because I'm just not throwing stuff at you.
No, he's not.
And because I don't want to look like a fool.
Yep.
At the end of the day, this is kind of my livelihood that I want to make for myself, is to be informative. Because people are lying, motherfucker.
Yeah. That's true. And, people are lying, motherfuckers. Yep.
Correct. So in death, you know, I really don't have a grieving system, and I distract myself, but I have to start getting to a process where I don't have to worry about the regret I'm going to have with people, where I should actually start picking up the phone and being like, yo, I guess we'll talk about the same thing that we talked about last week, but I'm glad to know that I knew what you did the prior week.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I even though you may say I go ghost a lot, I do, especially with people that I really care about. I try to keep in touch with them at least like once or twice a year. And maybe it should be more than that. Maybe I need to practice and reach out to people more. And I think I've done a better job answering my phone recently. And guess what?
You have.
Yeah. But that's another mental. But guess what? People go ghost when they're going through some shit, you know. And the past couple of years have been rough.
Correct. Yes. Correct. But okay, so that's going to be one of my goals. Then before the show, as I'll get them all out to you. But it's going to be to contact loved ones.
Yeah.
And
you guys make a goal.
Correct. You guys make a goal too, and that's cognitive behavioral developmental thinking is whatever I have inside of myself, I have to work through it to just pick up the phone and that goes where it goes. This sucks.
There you go, bringing it all back, man. That's beautiful. And I do want to get into the God aspect of it. However, I want to touch on one other thing that you said.
Go ahead.
Which was very interesting, and I don't even know if you know that you just said it, but you said gifted with mental health.
Yeah, man, it's a gift. Hell yeah. I mean, people ask me all the time if I'm autistic. I'm like, sure, whatever. I don't give a fuck. I think I've questioned myself too. I looked in the mirror. I'm like, where did these thoughts come from? It's either you're autistic or it's the lead paint. I'll take either one.
Yeah.
And
I love this guy.
And
has he been like this for your whole life too? Because you got a couple more years on me with him.
He's been like this forever.
No, and but it comes down to having people in your life that had issues and never addressed them or resolved them. My mother, I believe, had bipolar 2, and because she could get combative at times and be very, very irate and be irate for quite some time. And
Zero to bitch.
yeah, correct. Oh, sheesh.
Don't talk about Aunt Lori like
No,
that.
it's okay.
Really?
No, I bought her the bumper sticker, and I was an 8-year-old kid.
Oh my god!
And it was acceptable.
That's so funny. I never knew that.
Yeah. It was 0 to bitch in 6.3 seconds.
Hold on.
It was supposed to be faster than a race car. That's what it was implying.
That's beautiful. I got a real quick funny ass story with Aunt Lori, and maybe the bumper sticker was on this car, but I'll never forget. We all went to the movies together, all of us, and we were driving in another car. I was with my dad. I think you were in the car with him. But your mom was with us, and your mom had you moon us out the back seat window, and you were mooning us, and somebody was shooting spitballs at your ass.
I
believe it was Matt.
And,
that's beautiful.
No, that's
God bless Aunt Lori. Rest in peace.
Correct.
And rest in peace, Mo, and rest in peace, my father, and rest in peace, Aunt.
Yes.
Gotta say it again, man.
And I'm not saying that we should have What?
That's cool. We're keep it going. We're good. We can cut that.
What are we cutting?
The phone died.
He would be lying about that now, and we're back.
All right.
Now we had technical difficulty. We're still
DIY
learning.
yourself.
Yeah, DIY yourself. Thank you for bearing with us. And we really at this point don't know where we cut off. But
we'll figure it out.
But Ghost, how do you deal with grief or death?
Man, you know, it's interesting because we've talked about this already, both with like addiction and with mental illness, but distraction is a big issue, and emotionally distracting yourself, and it's not healthy. I know I haven't dealt with a lot. I think that we've had a lot to deal with, so that's why I'm asking you, my brother, because I'm still trying to figure it out, as I'm sure a lot of us are, right? And I'm not ashamed to say that, you know. I got my mask on right now.
No, absolutely. And let me tell you, your name actually, Ghost, comes from Harry Houdini, the ghost.
Yeah.
And the legend has it that he used to just try to discredit all the people that did seances and people with the glass balls. Well, I can't really think of their names right now. But he said he used to start to believe in it and was like, if this is real, I'm going to try to come back, and this is exactly what I have to say. And he never came back. And, just like you never show up. So Houdini's Ghost.
That ain't right. I always show up. I just don't always answer the phone.
Yeah, no, you're still here. Thank goodness. But that's where I got the idea of Houdini's Ghost.
That's
being
interesting.
Stood up a couple times. Yeah. But it's all right.
Man, you left me twice for 2 years each time.
It's okay. Prison's a bitch, but I learned in the long run. And but in all actuality, death at the end result, it's horrible. It's decomposition.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thought, man.
Correct. Decomposition is pretty much going back into the earth and being part of it again.
It's interesting.
And we're going to get into that because the body is mostly made up of oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. And
phosphorus.
Phosphorus, yes,
I knew what
phosphorus.
you were trying
Yeah.
to say. They didn't know, but
Yeah,
I knew.
I thought I was about to earn $5 for a $5 word, but apparently I owe somebody $5.
Yeah.
And it's very funny when knowing all those things because it's the minute structures or not minute, obviously minute, but crazy structures that I'm starting to learn that everything has to be at a certain play in order for us to work properly.
That's interesting.
And we actually have electric that runs through our bodies.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I did know that.
Yes, and just not in our nervous system, to our brains and to the tips of our fingers, to how we feel, to heat, to all that stuff. And the thing is, though, we have to fuel this engine of electricity.
Yeah.
Why do we have to make electricity?
Don't talk like that. You're freaking me out a little bit.
I'm freaking myself out.
But it's so interesting because, like, how are there so many of us that are all going through their own, like, when you break it down like that, man, it's crazy to think about as a human being what we actually are. Because we are so much, but at the end of the day, we're just that, you know?
You think? That's what you think.
There's so many different extremes to look at it, man.
Physically, we can be broke down the composition, but we have electricity running through us. So is that electricity linked to a soul?
Mind blown. There you go. Boom.
And are we all living in one giant dimension?
Man.
No, think about it though. Think about it. Okay. We're gonna put it in. Let me get into your head. All right, you're breaking an ice tray. Okay, crack, 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 crack. There's still ice at the bottom of that tray.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but the ice at the top of it is gone. You add water to that tray, and it molds itself back into an ice cube again. So do we die? Do we break off of the universe out of the dimension?
Damn, that's
and then we die and become part of the universe again to only go around as an electronic soul or maybe an orb.
Jesus, man. That's
until
crazy.
we can find another body or finish what we're doing here. We still have many things that we still death, correct.
God damn. What happens? That's a deep ass thought.
No, absolutely. So it goes from death to passing on to what are we passing on to? Are we passing on to a composition, or are we passing on to an orb, or is our soul going to go to heaven?
Seriously, it's so hard to think about just nothing. It's like, is that really a possibility?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
That's such a scary thought. How's that real? How's that real? It doesn't. I can't comprehend.
Okay, so more or less to the ordinary person, it would be real, because they don't have any physical proof to hold in front of them.
Yeah.
But here's where I went from an agnostic theist.
No, and like, isn't
an agnostic theist to an agnostic theist.
Oh, an agnostic.
Agnostic.
Agnostic atheist is in between this and this.
No. Gnostic atheist claims nothing. There is no God.
Okay.
Agnostic atheist claims no God, won't claim it.
We're gonna have to. Well, I'm gonna have to do my own research.
No, it's okay. It's okay. And just
because I want to understand it more.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So in my small trek through time, tiny, I've seen things that haven't fully comprehended to me, such as I saw a gentleman sitting in a recliner chair in my room one night. I woke up, straight shadow, like I thought somebody was there. I like somebody came into my crib and was like just chilling. I was like, all right, just don't touch me. Like I could obviously tell that like there was nobody physically there, but the shadow of a physical person was there, and I was like, all right, whatever, don't touch me. Then after my father died, a short, brief period of time of constant smell of coffee.
How about that?
No, yeah, absolutely, and but that was only short time. Then it kind of stopped. But then I worked in cemeteries.
Oh,
And
yeah, you told me this.
yeah, that was strange. Now either it was just a coincidence or something, but I used to hear my name and like as clear as day.
That's crazy.
And that used to freak me out. Now I will claim schizophrenia because in certain periods of time in my life today, right now, in places where there's high noise, traffic, noise, crowd, TV, I'll hear my name.
Yeah, I hear you on that one.
And
Hold on, let me bring you back for 1 second because you were saying, I think I might have told you this story. I don't mean to cut you off, but this is good. I think I told you the last time that we were here, you guys had left, and I was leaving, and they shut the lights off down here, and I walked through the garage. My dad was in that damn garage.
I could believe it.
I felt him for real, and I got scared, and then I was like, "Hold up, that's my dad," and I said bye to him, and I walked out the door. Now the whole ride home was weird though because I felt like there was something with me in the ride, and I didn't feel comfortable, but I don't know, it was strange. I want to bring something back real quick too for you, and I don't know if did you ever watch the Haunting on Hill House?
Maybe.
Okay, so I think that's the name of the show. Fans of the show will appreciate this. Spoiler alert, but one of the characters is haunted her whole life, and then when she dies, it comes to fruition that she was haunting herself.
Now I could believe that because not that there's things I don't want outside of myself, but I do believe in a form that I could be a soul carrier, and a soul carrier in my mind is I've tried to do research on it, is somebody that has a soul attached to them for a brief period of time until they reach their destination they want to be, and then they break off from you until they either catch you again or the next soul carrier. Because for some reason I always have the weirdest craving to travel to the most oddest destinations ever.
It's interesting.
And just random spots. Like I have to go.
Very interesting.
And thankfully, not thankfully, but the woman I'm with, holds off on me. But it becomes a temporary psychosis of looping thoughts. Is hey, we want to take a trip? Let's take a trip.
You do take random trips.
I do take random trips. It comes to my head.
You guys go together and all. That's
correct.
You make a trip out of
correct.
it. That's interesting, though.
Correct. And my next random trip is going to be, for the Instagram followers, on a great leader from Prussia.
Really?
Yes. From the I believe Prussia's in Europe.
Wait. So what are you doing?
Taking a bike trip through up the Schuylkill Trail to finally make it to the Valley Forge battleground. Why? Because for some reason my heart keeps on dragging me to the Valley Forge battleground. I have no idea what it means.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's strange. And then I learned about this generals, and I'm not going to reveal it yet because I want you to follow me on Instagram. But I'm gonna reveal his story on there, and
that's beautiful.
It's a beautiful story about this person.
That's beautiful.
And you got you.
So
ghosts.
God.
We're on the God. I'll take God.
I want to tell. This is crazy to think about. I grew up, my dad was Jewish, but I went to a Catholic school, and I was raised a Catholic, and I always had a strong belief in God, but I also had a strong tie to the religion, okay?
Okay, yes, no, that definitely teaches values.
It does teach values, yes. It teaches values, definitely does.
Morals too.
Morals too.
It
But I got a twist.
represses a lot of things, but
There's a twist, though. You know, I'm very proud of the fact that I'm Italian as well. I take a lot of my mom's side of the family. They raised me as an Italian, huh?
You have tests. I really won't take that until
What?
Until there's a 23andMe.
Oh, I didn't take it, but I've been to Italy. We traced our family back. Like, I know.
You traced the name.
We traced the name. That's true.
But you do know that Italy has been pillaged over and over and over and over.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I'm not gonna even go.
I have
Let's bring it
curly
back
hair.
to God.
You have no curly hair. Do you have curly hair?
I
when
used
it
to
grows
have
long?
curly hair. Though.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I would check into 23andMe. That's your goal.
Okay, I like that goal. Let's do it. And guess what? I'll
He
drop
can't call
that
himself
on your
Italian no more.
Instagram.
Watch him be German and some shit. He's gonna die.
But either way, I went to a Catholic school. I hope I am Italian. No, but I went to a Catholic school, and I was raised with these Catholic school values, and I used to take some pride into it. I also was a curious kid, and I liked music. And I always liked to talk about my tastes in music, and even back then. And so I brought a CD to school, Kid Rock, Devil Without a Cause.
Yes, you told me about this.
And it had a big middle finger on the front of the CD. And I got caught with it at school, at Catholic school, and man, I was just demonized. Now, in Catholic school, you have the principal, and then you have the Monsignor, okay? The Monsignor is higher than the principal. He runs the whole show, because he runs the church and the school. And he made... When my mom had to call him, and he was speaking in tongues, praying over my mom. They were acting like we were devils, and I had to apologize to my whole class. It was crazy. Now I stopped. So say that again.
I said that's why I don't fuck with that religion.
It's okay though. It's okay because.
Well, wait till you hear this. So that threw me off. And then I actually had another incident with music, but I don't even need to get in all that because I stopped going to Catholic school in 7th grade. And come high school, so maybe in a year, it came out that this Monsignor was, he was responsible for moving around priests that were touching kids. And that was...
cover up.
Yeah.
Cover up priest.
Yep. So he demonized me because I like to listen to a certain music, and he was doing that. And then it started to blow up about how much this was happening. And it's funny because my dad used to say that back in the late 80s, early 90s about priests and how it ain't right for a man not to, get his nut off,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to an extent, yes.
But anyway, all this came out, and it completely threw a wrench in everything that I had learned. All the values that I was taught. Now, looking back on it, I realized that just because somebody that was imperfect, I think that's kind of serious, but I know people make mistakes and whatnot, and just because of a bad egg or a bad decision or whatever you want to call it, the values still should have been there, and now I'm rethinking it all, which is why I'm curious about going to church with you.
No, absolutely. No, I like that, and I just don't want you to discredit the priest on his try teachings on you because he was a cover-up priest. It's priesthood is like a brotherhood. It would just be like me and you. I don't know if I would cover that up. It would not be in me. But he felt he was doing a service to his brothers, the ones he came up with. Disgusting. And but his teachings should not be discredited for his disgusting acts.
Yeah.
And trying to move other people and be like, hey, dude, don't touch people anymore, but you can still preach the word of God even though you're not practicing it. And that's another thing that that we'll get into at a later date on
Yep.
On pedophilia and what those people suffer
not
through,
looking
and then
forward to
the
that.
trauma of their victims.
How about
and
it?
It's and it's all, and believe it or not, a pedophile is in the mental health field, and
I know, it's
I
crazy.
hate to say that I can't I can't turn them away. I just have to keep them far away.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
Sorry.
Well, I'm done. I think that we touched. I do.
No way. We didn't even talk about Orbs.
That's all you, my brother. Tell me what you know about orbs.
Okay.
I guess we're gonna talk about some orbs and some ghosts, huh?
No, absolutely no. Okay, so about death. Even after some of us believe after death happens. Some people believe that we right now are living in alternative universes, split right now. There's some other guy in another universe who's green and he's blue, maybe, or it's the same exact thing, or maybe.
Say it again.
The Mandela effect.
We'll get into
Mandela
Mandela effect
effect.
another day. That's not this cast. We're the Mandela effect is real though, but that's okay. So back to orbs, and so what an orb is to believe, it's what we call backscatter.
Explain.
It's in a lot of photos in low light situations with the flash on, but not every situation. If you take a still image, you are sometimes able to catch an orb.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It's creepy.
As it's flying through the air. Some people like to discredit this as balls of dust. Okay, I can understand that, but
I'm getting goosebumps
as
again.
you start
I've seen
to see orbs and the video of orbs, you start to see patterns, and then you start to see where individuals who have tested the theory have brought their same camera that they're being recorded with using, but then taking pictures of random areas and then entering a cemetery to it being what you would call backscatter, where it's like, all right, so you're telling me dust is just chilling in a graveyard, but then there's my theory of we're 2020 in our Earth. Who's to say that another living organism that might live in our oceans, have micro cameras, and the micro cameras are floating around watching us. This.
Wow. God damn, that was off the chart right there.
Oh,
That
no,
might
you.
have to be a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's almost like my belief of alien spiders that the reason why I'm serious. The reason why we're never more than 5 feet from a spider because they're alien microphones and they're listening to us. They don't really have all them lungs. They're taking sound.
That's interesting.
And
who's to say?
You can't really drown the
shit.
spider, dog. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
We're gonna have to get into some of this shit.
Oh,
like, for
listen.
real.
My,
How much?
my own kids are specimens, dog. How about yours?
I love my kids.
You gotta test life, man. You gotta test life. It's fullest boundaries. I want the most out of my kids. I want my kids to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the head of a mortician of death in my local county making $250,000 a year looking at dead people. What are they called again? The morgue. What's the head of the morgue guy?
Mortician.
Is it?
I think so, right?
Something like that.
Sounds right.
I think it's right. But
Yeah.
whoa.
We'll need to Google that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. We don't got time for that. Okay, so we're still in the death. Shut the fuck up. We're not done. We're not done. Nursery rhymes. Mostly every single nursery rhyme that was before the Disney Channel has to do with death.
That's interesting. Expand.
Rock-a-bye baby on a treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bell breaks,
That's
the cradle
twisted.
will fall.
Jesus.
When the bell breaks, the baby will fall. Down will go, baby, cradle and all. Yes, no, absolutely.
Sick shit.
Why do we sing that to our kids?
Okay, no. Ring
about
around the
London
rosy, pockets full of posy, ashes.
You're making me get goosebumps.
That's actually
right
about
now.
Black Death.
Really?
Yes, correct. Because
Yeah,
when
that
people,
was from Okay.
Really?
When people developed, oh gosh, how are you gonna draw a blank on this one, you doofus? But
Do you know?
when people got the Black
from
Death,
Middle
the,
Ages.
correct, the middle. Well, no, Black Death still exists today. It actually is caused by the little guys, mites, meats, fleas,
Fleas.
that bite infected rats that were in sewage that then turn around to bite us. That our insides just liquefy and we just smell of rotten dander and blah blah blah. And they used to put smell goods on their bodies as they walked around and were dying, living zombies. Yes.
Wait, so what's the song now?
Ring around the rosy, pockets full of posies and ashes. Because they burn the bodies. Ashes,
Jesus.
ashes, we all fall down.
Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps. That's just crazy.
I believe that their nursery rhyme,
London Bridges.
London Bridge is about war.
It's about the London Bridge burning down.
Yeah, no,
Falling down. Or
yeah,
being
no,
destroyed.
yeah, being destroyed because they're coming to pillage the village, and either they went to
Yo,
save it or
straight
they were
up,
like, it
I'm
was already
scared to drive
pillaged.
home alone tonight because I'm bugging out right now.
No, it's okay, but also orbs could be related to spirits. Spirits which could go back to in the religious world to the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
And then God's disciples or his workers or his angels. And here's the thing, whether it was real or not, but there are recorded faces, just not one photographer, just not two photographers, multiple faces, multiple recorded faces, visual,
Yeah.
in orbs that are close enough. And
Man, I seen some pictures, man.
it was disturbing, very disturbing.
You know
Jesus.
what I gotta ask? Who you gonna call?
And I wish we will come soon to maybe revisit this subject.
Yeah.
And we are going to work on it. So that's going to be my goal, is to be better at grief counseling, since I'm actually asked about the subject
This
quite
is
often.
beautiful.
And
This is
maybe I'll
beautiful.
see what it will take to obtain a certificate.
That's beautiful. This is beautiful. We're
I
writing
don't know how to
down
spell
goals.
counseling.
He doesn't. But this is beautiful. We got goals. 23 in me. I gotta make sure I do that.
Anything else?
And also
Cognitive behavioral developmental thinking.
and one for us, and for you guys. 10,000 hours. Is that what we said?
Yeah, we hope. We can only pray. Sponsor us thousands.
There
No,
you
we
go.
pray. But really, anything you give us, we plan to either reuse or give it away.
And we're not asking for nothing
I don't
but
need
support.
money. I need a roof and I need drugs and I can function. That's not a fucking lie.
We
I'm not
need your
laughing.
support. You're an asshole. We need your support. I mean, that's really all we're asking for. And I think I want to bring this thing to a conclusion. This episode, as we talked about death a lot, and I mean,
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. We didn't mean to make this depressive, and so I tried to make it as enlightening as possible without blowing him.
I'm still open.
It's only
Never mind.
incest, and I'm going down to an extent. And you're
No
too close.
incest.
Too close.
Thank you. We wanted to dedicate this episode to all of our fallen soldiers.
Correct. Yes, and when this moment came up, I have names on names.
Yes. So we mean no disrespect
Correct.
to anybody that we may have forgotten.
Yes.
But I want to start with my father, Mark Staples. I want to say your mother, Eileen Cutler, Lori Carminati, Mark Carminati. That's our family. We lost a lot recently, too. And then the list just goes on. It's so sad how much it goes on.
Yes, correct. And go ahead.
But I'm gonna start. I wanna say again, rest in peace to Freddie Seafeld. We just lost. I wanna say rest in peace to Arthur Shivo. I wanna say rest in peace to Nicholas Bova. I wanna say rest in peace to Joseph Hilly. I wanna say rest in peace to Brian Menino. I wanna say rest in peace to Billy Flounders. Rest in peace to Michael Politti. Rest in peace to Greg Dooley, Crystal Lawrence, Matt Caringi, Andrew Sherwood, Dan Orens, Mike Shepard, J.J. Johnson, Donald Johnson, Keith Hensel, Pat Bizzari, Trish Sherrow, I'm so sorry. My brother-in-law, Nick Snyder, rest in peace. Steve Rodden, Anthony Vecchione, Kent Lanier. You got any more, man?
Yesham. Did you mention Yesham?
No.
Drew Sherwood?
Andrew, yep.
Andrew Drogati. It's a shame.
We lost so many, man.
Yeah. Oh, and Alabama Mike. Even though Alabama Mike really wasn't mental health, speed. Wanting speed and energy kind of would be a form of not knowing how to control yourself, and I believe it was a car accident, and sometimes there's things, but I just wanted to, Alabama Mike, love you, dog.
And to all the family of everybody that we mentioned and anybody else, tag anybody, everybody. I know there's people that I forgot, and I am genuinely so very sorry.
Incredibly
so
sorry.
many people that I probably forgot, but it means so much to me that we are able to dedicate something like this to these people, and rest in peace. God bless your families.
Yes.
Thank you for the support, and this is the Mental Health Militia. I really appreciate the time, and we love you.
Correct, and we're not signing off. Why? Because my goals is to remember the damn kid's name that is circling on my head. That was like, he was awesome. We used to chill all the time. I can't remember his name. I'm gonna remember his name and dedicate a personal segment to him, because I couldn't remember his name right now, and the other people I couldn't remember. And I will contact loved ones this week. I don't know how many, but I will contact him, make sure I physically talk to him, not text him, and I will look into grief counseling, and
I love those goals. I'm gonna put that on my list too.
And this is Christopher Chabot Carminati from the general of the Mental Health Militia.
Yes.
And this is
I
my
am
sidekick,
Guido.
Ghost.
Don't ever call me a sidekick again. I'm again Guido the Ghost Giordano. I'm sticking with that name. I told you why. And then we got the producer, Mr. Knowledge, Brian Cutler. I love my family, man. I love us.
You too.
I love us. None of that, man. You almost got me, you sick fuck. Nah, but I love you guys, man. And
love you guys too.
I'm so happy that we're able to do this. I really hope for the support. This has been beautiful, and I look forward to 10,000 more hours, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's do this.
Boom.
Love you, man.
Peace out.
Peace out, Joe. Love y'all too.